Say beans and rice and rice and beans and beans and rice and rice and beans. Right? Rice. Have you been, Ben? Hey friends, welcome to Meals with Maria. Today I have rice and beans and rice. Do you know who Dave Ramsey is? Have you ever heard of him? If you haven't, check him out. He's a financial guru guy. You know, agree with him or not. He says basically if you're broke, you're eating beans and rice and beans. And he makes it sound not all that glamorous. He's like, it's too bad, deal with it. Now, I have a differing opinion on this because I think that beans and rice can be delicious. So I've decided to bring you beans and rice meals that are super cheap. I'm talking dirt cheap. I'm talking this is definitely what you eat when you're broke, but absolutely delicious tasting. And all these meals ended up with leftovers, so they make more than enough for your family of 4, which is absolutely incredible. You just burp. So basic goal of the video here is to show you that rice and beans can be glamorous. We're gonna have a glamorous rice and beans experience, and we're gonna make Dave Ramsey happy all at the same time. So rice and beans and rice, here they are.
This first recipe is a slow cooker black bean soup. And we need 1 medium bell pepper, cored, seeded, and diced. And I did not have a red bell pepper, but I did have a green one. And I knew that I was gonna make another recipe the next day, and that also required a green pepper, and I only had 1. So we just split the green pepper in half. It still tasted delicious. Both meals were absolutely fine with half the green pepper. It was plenty of pepper, plenty of flavor. Even like in my family, I don't love peppers, so they were not missing it by any means, but it did add the right flavor. So, I mean, use what you have. Sometimes even if I can get like one of those little containers of roasted red peppers from the Dollar Tree, I will use that in a recipe like this. You don't always need all of the ingredients, or sometimes you can cut things down and you still get all of the good flavor. So yeah, just slice up your green pepper. And then you're gonna want 1 medium onion diced. And I just talked about onions in my $10 or less video, and I will post that below in the description box if you haven't watched it yet. But basically, onions are an amazing budget-friendly thing to keep on hand. You can find pounds of them for like $1.99, and they pretty much give flavor to everything. Now, if you don't have onions or you don't have money for onions, then it's absolutely fine to just buy onion powder and use that instead. And meals like this, I have often substituted garlic powder or onion powder, and it turned out absolutely delicious. So just your choice whether you want to buy the fresh, or if you have the powder on hand already and you are really on a tight budget, go ahead and use the onion powder and it will still taste delicious. What I like about this recipe is it really is a true chop, dump, and go. A lot of times when you have onions and peppers, you do need to cook those prior to putting them in the crock pot, but in this case, you do not. To the onions and peppers, I'm adding 2 bay leaves and then 1 pound of uncooked black beans. Now, I know you're supposed to wash them, and I always forget, and it always turns out fine. So, you know, to each their own. Spices, add 1.5 tablespoons of chili powder, 1 tablespoon of ground cumin, and 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. And you're also going to want 3 cloves of minced garlic. Similar to the onion, if you have garlic powder instead, you can use that as a substitute, probably about 1/2 teaspoon per clove. And then I happen to have vegetable stock on hand, so I decided to use that. I used 32 ounces of that, and then I added another 16 ounces of water and 2 teaspoons of chicken bouillon to this. So if you have chicken bouillon, that is always a great budget alternative to a stock, or you can save your vegetable pieces, save your meat pieces, and make stock on your own. Another alternative is always just water and salt. It does work. You want to cook this on low for 8 to 10 hours. There's not really a high cooking alternative here because these are dried beans and they need a lot of time to sit and get cooked. But as you can see, they cooked up perfectly in about 8 hours. So it does take a while, but you get a lot. And you saw how much water I added there, like it seemed really soupy. It does not end up being a very soupy soup. There is just a lot of beans in this, and that's not a bad thing. It's very hearty, it's very filling, and it is absolutely delicious. Like my husband was so shocked. He said, "This is really flavorful. Wow, thank you." Like really surprised by how delicious a black bean soup could be. And I served it with a little bit of Greek yogurt because that's what I have, but you can use sour cream, some cilantro, and cheddar cheese. And I cooked up some Jiffy cornbread for real cheap. And this was our dinner. Even the kids liked it. And we had leftovers. The next recipe is called beans and rice dinner, and this is a taste of home recipe. You just want to put a tablespoon of any oil, vegetable oil, olive oil, whatever you have, in a pan, heat that up. And then I'm adding 1 chopped onion, a medium chopped pepper. Of course, I had half a pepper, but that's okay. That still worked out just fine in this. And then 2 ribs of celery chopped. Now, if you don't have the pepper and the celery, I would definitely try and find something like that on sale. The great thing about peppers and celery is that if you buy them on sale, you can actually pre-chop them and then put them in your freezer and save them for a time when you do need to use them. So that's just an idea on how to make sure that you have these things around. So when you want to make something like this, you can still make sure that you're not buying it at a premium. And so you want to cook those up for about 5 minutes until they're tender. In the meantime, I cooked up some rice on the side. I just did like a quick 5-minute rice. You can cook rice in the rice cooker. It's always a good idea to just cook rice at the beginning of the week and have it, because in this recipe you want pre-cooked rice, but it doesn't matter if you made it a couple days ago. You can just add that right in there. So 2 cups of rice, 1 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes, undrained, 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce, 1.5 teaspoons of chili powder, and 1 can of black beans rinsed and drained, but the recipe calls for kidney beans. I happen to have black beans. I didn't have any kidney beans. It's delicious with black beans. I can't quite speak to kidney beans, but I'm sure it would be delicious with kidney beans. I feel like you could definitely use kidney beans or black beans, and both are going to be amazing in this. So just want to mix all of that up. That is pretty much everything that's going to go into this, and we're going to let it come to a boil. At this point, you want to reduce the heat and simmer it covered for an additional 7 to 9 minutes. Can we just talk about the colors in this dish? Like, this is so pretty and it's so inexpensive. And I was laughing because my husband, he said, what's for dinner? And we just had the black bean soup yesterday. And I said, oh, rice and beans. And he thought I meant literally rice and beans. I said, rice and beans dinner. So I put this on the plate. He goes, oh, this is not what I was expecting at all. And he was so impressed. He's like, this is really good. I really thought you were just going to serve me rice and beans. He goes, I mean, I should have known because you serve really good food, which thank you, Dan. But I surprised him with this. Look at that. Look at that skillet. That is like cheap and easy and delicious. So cheese over the top with some scallions. And then I served it with the leftover cornbread from the night before and a little bit of salad that I had. And Benny here is trying his first food. So he had some sweet potatoes and some black bean cakes. Actually just took the black beans and mashed those up and like so much so that he couldn't even choke on them into like little pies, little cakes. And he got going on that and he really enjoyed it. So you guys get to enjoy Benny's first experience with food as well.
Where are these? Carrots?
No, those are black beans.
The next recipe is a chickpea curry. And wow, it's another super easy, super delicious, super inexpensive meal. And I made this as a lunch, but I probably will make it for dinner sometime soon because it is hearty enough to eat for dinner. So I just put a little bit of oil in my pan here, whatever you have. I happen to have a red onion, so I chopped that up. You could use red, yellow, or white. They said it didn't really matter. And then I want 14 ounces of diced tomatoes, and I only had this big can, so I just took half that and put the other half in the fridge. Add a little bit of salt and pepper and then bring this to a boil over medium heat and cook it down for about 10 minutes until like all of the juices in the tomatoes are naturally released. Just add 1 can of chickpeas, about 16 ounces, drained and rinsed. And then we're going to add spices. It's going to be 1.5 tablespoons of garam masala, 1 teaspoon of curry powder, 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. Now, I always keep garam masala and curry powder on hand. So if you see those at the store, it might be a good idea just to grab some if you like curries and stuff like that. You want to make, dabble in making your own Indian food. They're pretty much the base to most of the things that I have made. And it's really, really nice to know that I don't have to run out and grab something very specific. Those 2 things pretty much work. And then to this, I'm adding 3 cloves of garlic, and I am going to use my microplane for that. I don't really know why I'm switching between the microplane and the garlic press sometimes. It just depends on my mood, I guess. But you can also use garlic powder, as I said. And again, you could use onion powder in this. I think it would still taste really good. The key in here is those spices, so you do want to make sure that you have those. But if that's really your main expense because you're pretty much cooking tomatoes and chickpeas, it's really not that bad. Stir this until combined and then add 1 can of coconut milk. Now, I have seen coconut milk at the Dollar Tree, so now I think $1.25. so it's not too expensive. Sometimes I've seen it for more like at a regular grocery store. So if you can find it at the Dollar Tree, I think that is a deal. And I would go with the full fat because that really thickens up the sauce. I've used like a light coconut milk before, and I find that it's too watery for my taste at least. And it's crazy because look how thick this is, and it just melts right up inside of your dish, which is awesome. And it gives it so much delicious coconutty flavor. Now the recipe says this part's optional, but I would definitely recommend it. It says to add 2 teaspoons of coconut flour. I didn't have coconut flour, so I just used regular flour. And then we're gonna cook this for another 10 to 12 minutes after it comes up to a boil. And you wanna reduce the heat at that point and then cook it for 12 minutes. And the reason that I say add the flour is it really does help to thicken the sauce, and you do want like a hearty, rich, robust, thick sauce. This meal actually ends up being accidentally vegan. I served mine over rice and it was absolutely delicious. Like, I absolutely love it. It is a great lunch for me. It is so hearty, so healthy. I will be serving this to my family soon for dinner as well. I just want to thank all of you for being here with me today. I hope you enjoyed these rice and beans dinners and you realize that, you know, it's not all boring. It can be exciting. You can make some amazing things and you can save a lot of money using rice and beans. Make sure to like this video because it is awesome and it saves you money, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I make all sorts of videos like this. I'll pop one up here on the screen right now that you can click on and go check out. I know you will love it, and make sure to hit the notification bell so you do not miss anything in the future, and I will see you all very soon.
I was out of you.